Hello, my name is Scott Hicks. I'm Director of the Teaching and Learning Center at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. For today's celebration of teaching and learning, I'm joined by David Young, Research Services Librarian at Mary Livermore Library at UNC Pembroke. Thank you for joining us, David.
Thank you.
Who was the best teacher you ever had and why?
I would have to say at Appalachian State in graduate school, Dr. Jackson, who I had for World War II class. We had a whole class devoted to World War II. Because he would tell us little known stories and act out the little known stories from World War II, the experiences of soldiers. So you actually felt like, as a student, you were transported back to World War II. He really made the topic come to life. And I believe that's a mark of a great teacher. I still remember him today. That was back in 1989, and I still remember him today. Fortunately, he passed away, but when he was alive, he was a great teacher, and it was a privilege to take him as a professor.
What does it take to be a good teacher in higher education in 2021?
I think you need to adapt to the situation, adapt to the changing technology, adapt to the times, and be flexible with students. You can pretty much gauge, even teaching a hybrid course, section of my course I'm teaching right now. I teach to the students' strengths. If I find like an assignment that they love to discuss, I purposely have class discussion. I purposely make on the assignments short answer discussion questions because I know that's a strength of my students. I think that's being an effective professor in the 21st century is being adaptive, adapting to the situation. I have to adapt every class session basically because even though you set up a syllabus, you know that that's not etched in stone. So I have to constantly change and tweak my syllabus. And it's a two-way street. So the students teach us as faculty different ways of approaching a problem that we may not even have thought of. I think that's also an effective technique as a good professor in the 21st century. Utilize the technology that is available to you in the classroom is also an effective technique. I've learned more about WebEx this semester than I ever cared to know before. So I think that's good. Just having and it sounds silly, but mute all. I hate to say that, but that's an effective technique. Mute all on entry because students don't mean anything by it, but you get all this background noise, and you want to have them be focused, especially teaching hybrid, because it bothers the students joining you physically in the classroom. So utilize the technology you have available to you effectively, I think is good.
So tell us a story about something creative you've done to engage your students.
Well, coming up as a break, they're going to take their midterm. Since I teach hybrid, I'm having both groups in the week of the 22nd, specifically the 24th as Group A, 26th is Group B. And physically taking their midterm in the classroom because midterm grades being due on the 29th of March. So one thing I'm doing as a break, I think is creative on the 29th, is I'm going to play a game called Live 1000 Jeopardy with them. I'm going to share the screen for the online joining WebEx students, and the physically joining on the 29th will be able to see the same game board that I'm sharing with my online students. And this is a great way to teach them in a creative way, I think. I've tried this once before. It was so successful last semester with my students. I said, I'm going to be creative because you have to be creative. It's another thing about being a professor in the 21st century is being creative. So the students love, I find, the spirit of competition. And I even came up with team names. So I came up with team names. I can't take credit for one of these, the needle in the library book stacks. That was Robert Arndt. So the library bookmarks. They love the team names. They even love the team names that I select and the super sleuths. So I want them to become research detectives. So everything I teach them in class, they can apply with an activity like this. And it's just like regular Jeopardy. And they love that. And they have a team captain. And I said, "Is that your final answer?" So that's like, and they love that interaction. They love the thing. And Mr. Young, can we get extra credit points for this? I said, "You get extra credit just for showing up and engaging in this game." So anyway, I think that's a creative thing that I do. I also have them do a research reflection, course reflection as an assignment at the end of the semester. And I've thought of doing a discussion board on WebEx, making that a discussion board, because students, again, love to discuss. So I could put the same questions in a discussion board format on WebEx, and to accomplish the same goal as the physical paper would. So that's another thing I can do.
Thanks so much for joining us today, David.
Thank you.
We're glad for David Young, Research Services Librarian of Mary Livermore Library at UNCP, for joining us in the 2021 celebration of teaching and learning. Thank you.
Thank you.